I'm Amy. I am the Globetrotting Stitcher, and I'm so happy to be back with you today. Welcome to my channel. Sorry. Having a little bit of a moment here. So if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. Thanks so much for coming to spend some time with Gary and I every few weeks. We really appreciate it and enjoy interacting with you. If you are new and just discovering us, welcome to you as well. I hope that you like what we're doing here. I hope you like the things we're working on and that you'll decide to stick around and subscribe. So I've got a couple of brief updates to share with you guys before we get into all the stitchy goodness. But I know many of you have been kind of keeping track of Bear and how he's doing, and so just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on that. So first of all, a huge thank you to everybody for all of your sweet comments on our last video, sending Bear your well wishes and your prayers and your good thoughts and all of the things. So he did have his TPLO surgery on his knee about 2.5 weeks ago, and it was very successful. It went really well. He actually went into the vet a couple of days ago, and they took his sutures out. And so he has now officially been cleared from the cone of shame, which he's very happy about. He's still wearing the donut of shame periodically because he's more interested in his incision than he should be, but he's definitely feeling more comfortable as far as that's concerned. He is also very much enjoying because he's now been cleared to start doing little, like very small amounts of exercise. So he's got some physical therapy exercises, which is kind of funny, but good for him. And then he gets to take short, like 10-minute walks a couple of times a day, which he is really loving. He and Sophie have missed taking their walks. And so he's been happy to get out there, even if it's just for a short walk. And honestly, that's really about all he can handle. When he comes home from a 10-minute walk, he's pretty pooped and he'll take a nap. But he's doing quite well. It's been kind of an interesting process. So those of you who have been with us for a while will probably remember that he had the same surgery on his other leg a couple of years ago. And I feel like the recovery process on that leg was much faster. You know, he was much more mobile, far more quickly. He stopped limping a lot sooner. And he is still, you know, very much favoring that leg. He still has a pronounced limp. It took him a solid, I'd say, week before he even tried to kind of start putting any weight on it at all. And so I don't know if that's just, you know, this was perhaps, you know, he had a little bit more damage in there than on the prior surgery, or if it's just he's a couple of years older, but he's recovering well, but he's recovering more slowly. So we're just kind of keeping an eye on him and making sure he gets all of his pain medications on time. But he's doing well, so thank you again for sending him your good thoughts. He's been a super snuggler the last couple of weeks, and that part's been really nice. Sophie's also doing well. She's, I swear, between these two dogs, I'm like, I'm gonna go bankrupt. She's had a couple of recent vet visits to deal with a little infection, and then she's had some ear problems and some skin problems and a little bit of everything. She's generally on the mend and doing well, but we've been joking with the vet that we need to have like a punch card where, you know, you have 5 visits and then your next surgery is free because it's been a lot. But anyway, we're all heading in a good direction, and so I think that's really positive. As far as other things going on here, it's been just kind of business as usual. The other kind of big activity that's happening is Gary has been working on our deck again. So if you were with us last summer, you'll remember that we had this massive project of having to sand and restain. Our deck is broken into 3 big pieces in our backyard. And so we were only able to get like 1.5 of those done last year. And so Gary's been working on the second half of that this summer, and he's been working really hard on that, and that's taking up a big chunk of his time, but it's coming along really nicely, so that's keeping him busy. And then the other thing is it's just been hot, and I realize that, like, people in Europe, you guys are dealing with this. Other people around the country here in the US, I know, are dealing with a lot of extreme heat conditions, and so compared to all of you, I think we're doing pretty well here as far as temperatures, but it's been really hot for us and really uncomfortable. So I'm all over summer. I'm done. I'm ready for fall and ready for cooler temperatures and wind and rain and all of those things. So I'm happy to see that we're at the tail end of summer and looking forward to that. Okay, so enough on updates and just rambles. Let's get into stitchy goodness. So I've got a couple finished pieces to share with you today. The first is a fully finished object, and this is a piece that I stitched earlier this year, finished a couple of months ago. This is called Par une Nuit Enchantée by Couleur d'Etoile. That is an Etsy shop, so if you like this and you would like to stitch it, that's where you can find it. I'll include a link in the description box below. They've got a lot of really beautiful designs. So I stitched this design on a piece of 40 count anthracite linen using the called for floss with a few variations. So I'll show you the fully finish and then talk about it a little bit. So this is it. This is how it turned out. This, as I said, has been finished for a couple of months and waiting to be fully finished. And it's been a little bit of a journey to get here. So I had ordered the frame from a company that I have ordered some custom frames from several times now. And I was not super happy actually with how this all kind of turned out. So the frame that they sent was actually not measured correctly to the dimensions that I sent to them. And so what ended up happening was it's a lot tighter to the actual design than I really ideally wanted it to be. I would have liked to have a little bit more breathing room for the piece. It just feels very tight in there. And I had some back and forth with them about that. Won't get into the details, but I wasn't really satisfied with the response that I got. The other problem was that the frame as it was pictured on their website and described on their website was silver. And the frame when I received it was very much like a silvery, like bronzy gold with a hint of silver to it. It was not the same color as what was shown on their site. I think the short story is the company did not really make it right to my satisfaction. But we were able to make it work here. And so Gary actually helped me out massively. So we went and we picked out some paint, and he painted this for me so that it was much, much more in line with what I was actually looking for as far as color. And I think he did a fantastic job. I'm super, super pleased with it. And then I was able to kind of adjust where I framed the piece in the frame. So while it still feels tight, I was able to make it work. Overall, I'm really pretty satisfied with this. I think this is really sweet, and I'm really looking forward to having it up this winter and at Christmas time. And so yeah, one more finish in the books, or one more full finish in the books. Okay, the next piece that I finished is in my seasonal category. And this was actually a new start the last time you saw it. This is one of the charts in the Berries and Robins booklet by Madame Chantilly. I call this Valentine Letter. It's very small. And let's see, yes, like I said, it was a new start the last time you saw it. And I stitched this on a piece of 30 count bowline linen by the Primitive Hair, using the called for DMC with the exception of I did switch out one of the floss colors to something that was a little bit more pink rather than rusty red. So lots of fabric for a teeny tiny little finish. So this is a really small piece. I think it only actually took me 2 days of stitching to get it completed. But I think it's just so, so sweet. I really like it. And this was a lot of fun to stitch. I'm going to turn it into like a sweet little pin pillow. But I think it's just adorable, and I was really happy with how it turned out. So this chart has been really fun to work on, and I think it's just all of the designs in it are really adorable and quite easy to do. So anyway, that is my Valentine Letter chart within the Berries and Robins chart by Madame Chantilly. All right. That is it for finishes. So let's move on to whips. The first whip that I will show you is in my sampler category. And so many of you know I have been working on Winter Rose Manor by Brenda Gervais with a needle and thread. I am stitching this on a piece of 36 count raw Edinburgh linen. And I am using most of the called for flosses, and I'll talk about the details of that a little bit more here in a minute. So the last time you saw this was right after my trip to Nairobi, and I had made some good progress on it where I had finished the border across the top, and I had stitched in quite a bit of the border along the side. I had also started putting in the basket of flowers up at the top of the design and had stitched in quite a bit of the second row of the house. So here's where this is now. And I've been working on it this last week and really enjoying myself with it. So as you can see, I've finished now the border along the right side of the design. I've now stitched the border across the bottom. I just have a couple little flowers left to stitch in, and then the bottom border will be completely finished. I am making really good progress and closing in on finishing the flowers in the bouquet here. I'm almost done with the basket. I've started on the roof. And I have got the house where it's almost all the way down to, I'm stitching in the bottom floor of the house, and I've started on the door. So really good progress. By the way, this little needle minder here, this was a gift from Alexis, the lovely Alexis from Alexis My Amazing World. She made these sweet little like pin cushion needle minders and shared them with folks at StitchCon. We really enjoyed meeting her and getting to spend some time with her. And so I've had a lot of fun having this on my piece and remembering her this week. But yeah, I'm really enjoying working on this. This piece I am also doing as a stitch along with my friend Sarah. She is Stitch Addict on Instagram. So I would recommend going and checking out her Instagram and seeing where she is on this. She's been stitching in some different places than I have. And so it's kind of fun to see different pieces coming along at different times. And our hashtag, if you would like to join us, is Roses in Winter Sal. So I think last thing I want to mention on this before I move on is, as I said, I've made a couple of minor changes to the flosses. So the first change is the chart calls for roasted marshmallow for the white, which is, I think it's Classic Colorworks roasted marshmallow. It might be Gast or Gentle Arts. I can't remember which one. But that's actually like a creamy, yellowy sort of, it's not a true white. And I've heard a lot of other folks mention this when they've worked on this piece, that they switch it out for like toasted marshmallow instead. I just have used B5200 by DMC for the white, and that's been nice and bright on my fabric. The other kind of more major change that I've made in the house is in the chart, the whole house is stitched in conch by Weeks Dye Works. And conch is, sometimes it's got a pink hue to it, but a lot of times it's more of like a peachy cream. And as I've shared in the past, I really wanted my house to have a distinct pink hue to it. So the other thing that I wanted to make sure of is in the design, the whole house is just conch. That's all it is. And there's no differentiation in color between the side of the house here and the front of the house here. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that was different. So what I chose to do is get something that's got a little bit more of a distinct pink saturation to it. So for the side of the house, I've stitched all of that in Rose Petal by Color and Cotton. And then for the front of the house, I stitched that with one strand of Rose Petal and one strand of conch. And it's just enough lighter that there's a distinct difference between the two. So I've been really pleased with that decision and how that's turning out. I am just thoroughly enjoying working on this piece. It is a real pleasure to stitch, and I'm having a blast with it. It's also, I think I've mentioned previously, this one has stitched up for me a lot more quickly than I expected it to. So it's been just a lot of fun to work on, and I really love this. So yeah, Winter Rose Manor. All right. The next WIP I will show you is actually Gary's. So Gary is stitching on Captain America by Awesome Pattern Studio. That is an Etsy store, and we will include a link in the description box below. He is stitching on 16 count pewter Aida with all of the called for flosses. And Gary, over to you.
Never know when that's coming. Okay, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on the blue bits, but there really isn't much left to page 3 in terms of the blue. But I'll put a close-up of the area. Every place you see a spot or a dot or an opening is probably a different color or no color at all. So I'm not even close to done with page 3, but I'm positive I'll be done with page 3 by the next time we do this. The other thing I'll say about this is I know that I've complained a lot about the counting that you have to do. The bottom line is there are numerous mistakes in this, and I challenge anyone to find them. But they're there. So that's that really. I'm looking forward to finishing it. I have no idea what we're going to do with it when we're done. But you know, there you have it. Anyway, so that's Captain America's progress.
All right. Okay, let's see. The next WIP I will show you is my weekend stitch. This is Butterfly Port Mauve by Heaven and Earth Designs. I am stitching it on 28 count white easy grid Lugana 2/1 with half stitch. The last time you saw this, I don't know, the last time you saw this, I was in page 1 and I'm still in page 1. It's kind of hard to describe. But I've probably put in about, I would say 12 to 1500 stitches of maybe that might be a little bit of a high estimate since the last time you saw it. So I have, let me just pull up where it is to show you. So as you can see here, I am continuing to work my way down the down page 1. I've reached the bottom of page 1 here as far as kind of where I'm fully filling in. And I'm getting closer to the bottom over here on page 1, but I'm really starting to work my way into page 2 now. It's probably going to be a few more weeks before I actually finish page 1, but it's nice to be making progress. And I've talked about this before with this piece. It's hard to kind of talk about the difference from one time to the next, other than just putting up the side-by-side comparisons that Gary shares, simply because it's all background at this point. But we are starting to get into some areas where there's some distinct things to describe. So here, as we're getting into the top of page 2, there's this sort of like lacy overlay effect. I don't know how else to describe it, but there's this a little bit of a pattern that's on that one side, and that I'm starting to get into that. And so I think relatively soon that will start to show up a little bit more distinctly. But I'm looking forward to fully finishing off page 1 and getting into, actually this isn't page 2, I forget what page number this is because page 2 is to the right. Regardless, I'm looking forward to getting into this lower page because there are a number of elements of the design that actually start to emerge, and I think it's going to make it more interesting to see the progress as well as a lot easier to describe the progress. But this is where I am right now. I do enjoy working on it. It's kind of nice to spend a little bit of time every weekend doing some full coverage that is not heavy confetti and is just, you know, pretty colors. So this is where I am on that right now. Okay. Let's see here. The next WIP I have to share with you is my travel stitching. I am working on Christmas Cheer Pin Pillows by Jeanette Douglas, and there are, I think, 6 designs in this chart. I am working on the one that I call, it's the Peace on Earth Pin Pillow. Jeanette Douglas Designs, I'm stitching on 36 count Stars Hollow Blend Linen by R&R Reproductions, and I'm using all the called for flosses. So the last time you saw this piece, it was a brand new start. I had started it on my trip to Nairobi, and I hadn't made a lot of progress. I think I had stitched in, you know, part of the border, part of the word peace, and the first part of a big red snowflake. And so this is where I am right now. It's not a ton of progress, but progress is progress. So I have now finished the entire left side border, and I'm starting to turn the corner down here. I'm almost all the way across the top border, but I have a few more scallops to put in. Finished the word peace, stitched the word on, started the word earth. I've plugged in a couple of scattered snowflakes that are in the design and then made more progress on the big red snowflake. So this is one that, you know, it's kind of hit or miss as far as when I'm able to work on it. I do have a trip coming up, and so I think this one will see pretty big progress on that trip. But a little at a time, you know, is fine. And this is a piece that it stitches up quite quickly. And so when I do get to work on it, you know, I think you feel like you've made good progress even if you don't spend a lot of time on it. So yeah, that is Peace on Earth. Okay. The last whip. Here we go. The last whip I have to share with you is my full coverage piece. This is Rose Trellis In by Heaven and Earth Designs. I am stitching on a piece of 28 count white Lugana 2/1 using the half stitch. So the last time you saw this, I hadn't made very much progress on it because I just didn't get much time on it. But what I had done, I had stitched in, I was still working on finishing up the roof line of the house, but I was closing in on finishing that. I was also stitching on, at the second level of the house, there's a balcony with 2 windows, and I was working on the second of those windows, and I had just started stitching that and working on the decorative work at the top of that window. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Sorry. So here's where we are right now. That's pretty significant progress from where it was last time. I'm super excited. So when this came out, I had a week of leave and I had all these grand plans to be really productive and get a whole bunch of stuff done around the house. And while I was somewhat productive, I actually ended up giving myself a much needed break, and I spent a lot of time stitching. And so I made really great progress. So as you can see, I have now completely finished the roof of the house and finished off all of this, this decorative work, this decorative trim work. I am almost finished with this second window. So I filled in all the decorative work here, the curtains, and this little like heart, it's a heart kind of, I guess we can call it trim. I can't think of what it's called right now. I'm almost done with all of the pink siding on this second level, and I've started stitching in the last of the 3 little evergreen trees. And I've then started working on the sky and the bushes that are here along the side of the house. So I've also completely finished stitching all the way across the top of the 3rd row of pages, and I'm just finishing filling in down to the bottom of that. So this is really coming along. I'm really excited with how it's looking. I'm excited to get down to the 4th row of pages because it's going to be a lot of confetti down there, but there's a lot of really cool elements to the design that start showing up there. And I just think this is really beautiful, and I'm really pleased with how it's coming on. So that is where I am right now. This sweet little bean needle minder is another one that was a gift that I got at StitchCon. So this was from She Cave Stitcher. And this also came with some really sweet little floss drops. So anyway, it's been fun to kind of start pulling out the needle minders that were gifts at StitchCon and begin using them on different pieces. But that's where I am on this right now. Okay. That's it for whips, but I have a couple of new starts to share with you. And the first new start is not mine. So Gary has been hinting at starting a new piece, and he did. So Gary, I will go ahead and let you talk about what you've been working on.
Okay. Since I don't know the particulars, I'm just going to say that it's grayerized material, and it's got holes in it. Bunch of them all over the place.
Tons of them.
Tons of them. I guess I call it the laundry tag, but I guess it's got some other official name, which I'm not going to use. But at any rate, I like this one because, you know, I guess I showed a picture of it before, but this is what it's going to look like. And I like this one because it's pretty telling about how I feel about life in general. Anyway, I don't want to get all syrupy, but I just like this one. I like these kinds of messages, and it's going to be fun to work on. And it's kind of neat because I think that's the washer sticker right there for the tag. There's going to be an iron next to it, and then the tag below it. Anyway, it's just fun to work on. I'm looking forward to not having to count. Okay, do 3, skip 3, do 1, skip 4. I'm good with that. So maybe later, but I'm going to move on to this one. I'm going to try to work them both, and see how that works. But it doesn't usually work well for me, but here you go. as you can tell by the globe's progress. Anyway, so that's where that is. I'm going to hopefully do more between now and 2 weeks or so from now. And we'll see where it goes. There was, I guess there was a query, if you will, about whether or not I consider myself to be a cross-stitcher yet. No, I think you got to be doing it for 5 years before you can actually say that. So I know I went to StitchCon and that means something, but really it didn't level me up in any way. I just got to wait another, 2.5 years. Then I can say I'm a cross-stitcher. It's in the rules. And you know how I feel about rules. Anyway, I'm good. And thank you for your time.
Yeah. That question was from Paula from Stitching in High Heels. And I thought that was too funny. I felt that Gary should have to answer that question because as you hear, he doesn't consider himself a stitcher yet, despite having 2 active whips.
2 more years.
2 more years.
2.5. Sorry, 2.5 more years.
I had like a little brain fart there. I should have given you guys the specifics on this before asking Gary to talk about it. The actual chart name is Human Beings. The designer is Demented Stitchers. That's an Etsy shop, and we'll include a link to this in the description box for those who are interested.
It's 72 count shark skin.
No, this is 16 count rock salt Ada bicolor and cotton.
Shark skin.
Shark skin. Oh dear, we're going off the rails here. Okay, and then one more new start, and this one is for me. And this, as you may have already guessed, this is, oh, there it is. This is the third of the 3 designs in the Madame Chantilly chart that I've been working my way through, the berries and robins. And I just call this birds on a twig just as a way of differentiating it from the others. But here is my new start, which is it was literally almost a start and finish. I probably have 1 more day of stitching on this to finish it up. And so I'm stitching this on a piece of French Vanilla Swirl Wexford linen by Silk Weaver. I'm using all the called for DMC floss. And this has been really, really fun to work on. I am looking forward to finishing this piece off just because it's always fun to get a start on something new, but I'm excited to be coming close to the end of finishing off all the designs in that chart. So this one, yeah, this has been really fun. And I've been thinking about how I want to finish this piece as well as the other one that I stitched on this fabric. So yeah, Madame Chantilly, berries and robins, birds on a twig. There you go. All right, so that's it for the new starts. So I wanted to take a couple minutes to answer some questions that have come in on some recent videos. So the first one is from Stephanie, and Stephanie said, is it my imagination or do you have more whips now than you did in the very beginning of your videos? No comment. Yes, I do have more whips, although I don't have a lot more whips. So if you've been with us from the beginning, which Stephanie, it sounds like probably has, when we first started making videos, I had 5 categories of whips or five sections in my rotation. So I had my Fancy Lady, my full coverage, my sampler, and my seasonal or gift stitching plus a travel piece. So 5 whips. And as you can see, that has expanded, but it hasn't expanded significantly. So I now have 2 more whip categories. One is my weekend stitch, which is my butterfly port mauve. And then the other is my wild card piece, which is Bush Market, which only comes out when I have a finish in one of my other categories, and then I work on it for a day and put it away. So it's come slow but steady progress on that one. I have been toying with the idea of adding 1 more section or 1 more category to my rotation, but the truth is I don't want to, the progress is important to me, and so I don't want to be putting, I don't want to fill up my rotation too much or have too many whips, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. I'm just considering options, but yes, I have expanded my rotation a little bit. I do have a couple more whips, so I have a total of 7. And as we've already discussed, Gary now has 2. So we are increasing in whips here. And then the last question is from Linda. Linda said, what do you work at that takes you over to the old country all the time? So I won't go into a lot of detail, but I work for an organization that that does a lot of provides a lot of support for international development. So our organization works in a lot of different areas, on health issues and education. But the team that I work on specializes in agriculture. And we do a lot of work across the broad spectrum of agriculture, all the way from supporting research into new varieties of seeds and how to make things more productive or more adapted to climate change, all the way down to improving the information that gets to farmers and the way that gets to farmers, improving soil health, agronomic practices. We do a lot of work in livestock, and then we also work in agriculture systems. And that's where my work is really focused, is partnering with governments to develop plans for their countries. And we work primarily in the global south, but partnering with governments to develop plans and support plans to develop their agriculture sectors in a way that is helping smallholder farmers and small-scale producers and livestock keepers that have smaller herds, and helping them to be able to engage in the market. And so that's, the systems work that we do is it's making sure that, that governments are partnering with them to figure out what policies they need to make their systems function effectively, to enable private sector growth, so that there's, sustainable markets and systems. We do a lot of work to help make sure that smallholder farmers, with a real emphasis on women and youth, which tend to be really marginalized as far as their ability to, or their opportunity to engage in markets. We do a lot of work to make sure that they have opportunities to, have access to new products and services and technologies that are in the market, or agriculture inputs, but then also output markets. I won't get into a lot of the details, but output markets, so they have a place to sell what they're producing. So yeah, I'm getting way into the weeds more than I should here, but the main point is that just really working to help and support work in the global south as far as ag development. And so that's where a lot of my work is, and working with other organizations that provide support for those kinds of things as well. So in a nutshell, that's the kind of work.
It's an awfully large nut.
Listen, the nut could have been a lot bigger.
Oh, I know.
He's heard me. When I start talking about my work, I will go on and on and on. It's a bad habit. So anyway.
Cocoa nuts.
Listen, there's no cocoa involved here. It's not about the cocoa. Anyway, so that's why I travel so much, and to the places that I travel to. On that subject, I'm actually in 2 weeks going to be heading to Rwanda. I am going to be attending, there's a big ag-related meeting where we're going to be meeting with a lot of government ministers and partners, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's a really big and exciting event. And then after that, I'm actually going to be going out and doing some field visits and looking at some of the seed systems work that some of our partners are doing that helps to get improved seeds to farmers. So while I'm in the meetings, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of pictures or anything exciting to share with you guys out of that. But I'm hoping that there'll be some interesting stuff that I can show you from the field visits, even if it's just pictures of the countryside in Rwanda, which is beautiful. So we'll see. I don't know what I'll have to come back with, but we'll see what it looks like, and hopefully there's something fun to share coming out of that. So I think we'll just wrap up quickly here by talking about what we're going to be working on over the next couple of weeks. First of all, I am going to spend a couple more days on Winter Rose Manor and see how much farther I can get that. Really looking forward to that. I am also going to be pulling out my Fancy Lady, which is Celtic Winter, and going to be putting in a week of work on her. She's just turning out so beautiful, and I'm really excited to get her back out. She's been a lot of fun to work on. I know a lot of you are really enjoying seeing her as well, and so she's going to get some love this next week. And then I will also be pulling out my seasonal stitching. So we'll be pulling out my new start on the berries and robins, the birds on a twig that we just showed you a few minutes ago. As you saw, that's very close to a finish. So I expect that once that's finished, I'll spend a day working on my bush market, which is the my wild card piece. And then I will get to have a new start, which I'm really looking forward to. So I am going to be starting, we're about to have an avalanche over here. I'm going to be starting Easter by the Cricket Collection. And this is such a sweet, pretty piece. Lots of beautiful, soft spring colors. So I'm really looking forward to working on this one. And then we will see how far I get on my travel stitching. I have a sneaky suspicion that that is actually not going to get a lot of love until I'm actually on my trip. So we'll see if I have anything to show you. I think we're going to try and film one more time before I leave. And then, of course, Gary is going to be splitting his time between well, I don't know. Are you going to try and work on both of your pieces for the next couple of weeks, or do you have a plan?
I have no plan.
Gary has no plan. He's a stitch what you want when you want stitcher. If you want.
Live life to the fullest.
So there you go. It'll be a mystery.
Battery's dying.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you got about a minute.
Okay. Well, that's about all I need. So we're going to sign off. Thank you again for spending your time with us. We hope you enjoy our videos. If you do, we hope you'll subscribe and give us a thumbs up. You can hit the little bell to get notifications whenever we post a new video. You can also follow me on Instagram. I try to post somewhat regularly, but I'm not always good at it. But I'm globetrotting_stitcher on Instagram. You can send me emails to globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com. So yeah, we stay well, stay safe, and we hope that whatever you're working on, that you're enjoying your stitching and doing well. And we will look forward to seeing you really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.